Hey, how's it going? Before we jump into today's episode, gonna slap a big old explicit warning on this episode. Not for kids, all right? Unless you want your kids to grow up mentally scarred, because this one's one of those that if you listen to this show with your kids in the car, don't. Just keep this one to yourself, all right? You've been warned. Welcome to Our Weird World. I'm your host, John Henson, and it is the final Monday of September, so we are wrapping up another successful year of Serial Killer September. Oh boy, except, this episode, not going to be fun to get through. If you're someone like me who awkwardly talks about sexual things, just because wieners and butts, I don't know, man. Let's keep them wrapped up for the most part. But no, that is not what this guy did. He was all about just having them out and throwing whatever you could find in them and around them and on. I don't know, man. He's very similar to David Parker Ray, which we covered back on episode 32, which I ended the spooky month of Halloween themed stories with him. He wasn't even just bad for serial killer, standards. I threw him in October to wrap up the scary stories. And I could have done it here with Robert Ben Rhoades. Just an all-time creeper. All right. So let's get into story time and get this over with.
Story time. Story time. Story time? Story time.
Robert Ben Rhoades was born on November 22nd, 1945 in Council Bluffs, Iowa. He had a great childhood and was very active in school as a member of his football team, the wrestling team, the French club, and the Glee club. So, he was all over the place. And I guarantee you this is where it all started, right? All right, he's a active member of the football team, the wrestling team, and the Glee club. Oh, so you mean to tell me a kid that's in Glee Club also doesn't really enjoy just wrestling dudes in spandex and just spending a lot of time naked in a boys' locker room, showering with and seeing the sweaty jock straps of other kids? Okay. There it is, right out of the gate. We should have had a red flag on him immediately, right there. All right, this isn't High School Musical. All right, this isn't Zac Efron just finding his voice or however that movie goes. I don't know. All right. This is real life. And in real life, if your kid is on the Glee club and the wrestling team, all right, listen, either one of my kids, I don't care if they join the Glee club, but they're not playing football or wrestling on top of that. All right. Maybe basketball. All right. Maybe baseball and Glee club, but not. And the French club, that's the other thing that Robert Ben Rhoades was doing. He was in French club. I don't even know that's where they talked about. That's probably where he got the ideas, we're going to get the Glee club, and then we are going to go to the football locker room and see all of the sweaty buttholes and the ball sack, because that's French people. All right. Anyway, It's just an unnecessary shot at French people. For whatever reason, though, and maybe it was the fact that his dad was arrested for molesting a 12-year-old girl that may or may not have also been his niece, Rhoades started acting out. He was arrested in 1961 and 1962 for petty crimes, but other than that, continued to make good grades in school, continued to, sing his little heart out in the glee club, and also wrestle other dudes to the ground. He went on to join the Marines, but while training in San Diego, he received word that his father had killed himself while he was out on bail before his trial for, molesting his 12-year-old niece. This, of course, greatly affected Rhoades, who kind of, tried to cope, I guess, by continuing to commit petty crimes. After it was discovered that he participated in a robbery in 1968, he was discharged from the Marines and sent home. Over the next few years, Rhoades worked several jobs, got married, and had a son. By 1973, he had obtained his trucking license and began referring to himself as Dusty, and got super into the BDSM community. Now, some of you who are maybe a little bit more in tune to this sort of thing, you hear Dusty, Robert Ben Rhoades, Dusty Rhoades. Dusty Rhoades, the American Dream, Hall of Fame WWE wrestler Dusty Rhoades.
First of all, I would like to thank the many, many fans throughout this country that wrote cards and letters to Dusty Rhoades, the American Dream, while I was down. Secondly, I want to thank Jim Crockett Promotions for waiting and taking the time, because I know how important it was. Starcade 85 it is to the wrestling fans, it is to Jim Crockett Promotions. And Dusty Rhoades, the American Dream, with that weight, got what I wanted. Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. I don't have to say a lot more about the way I feel about Ric Flair. No respect, no honor. There is no honor among thieves in the first place. He put hard times on Dusty Rhoades and his family. You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. Hard times are when the textile workers around this country are out of work and got 4 or 5 kids and can't pay their wages, can't buy their food. Hard times are when the auto workers are out of work and they tell them go home. And hard times are when a man has worked at a job 30 years. 30 years, they give him a watch, kick him in the butt, and say, hey, a computer took your place, Daddy. That's hard time. That's hard time. And Ric Flair, you put hard times on this country by taking Dusty Rhoades out. That's hard time. And we all had hard times together. I admit I don't look like the athlete of the day supposed to look. My belly's just a little big. My hind is just a little big. But brother, I am bad and they know I'm bad. And there were 2 bad people. One was John Wayne and he's dead, brother. And the other one's right here. Nature Boy Ric Flair. The world's heavyweight title belongs to these people. I'm gonna reach out right now. I want you at home to know my hand is touching your hand for this gathering of the biggest body of people in this country, in this universe, all over the world now, reaching out because the love that was given me, and this time I will repay you now, because I will be the next world's heavyweight champion on this hard time blues. Dusty Rhoades Tour 85 and Ric Flair, Nature Boy. Let me leave you with this. One way to hurt Ric Flair is to take what he cherishes more than anything in the world. That's the world's heavyweight title. I'm gonna take it. I've been there twice. This time when I take it, Daddy, I'm gonna take it for you. Let's gather for it. Don't let me down now, because I came back for you, for that man up there that died 10, 12 years ago and never got the opportunity to see a real Wolf champion. And I'm proud of you, and thank God I have you. And I love you. Love you!
Yeah, Dusty Rhoades, one of the most respected and celebrated wrestlers of all time. All right, Dusty Rhoades. So Rhoades, he's going by Dusty now. He's super into the BDSM community. And by 1975, he's between cutting promos against Ric Flair, daddy, and, talking about whatever championship he's getting. He's also using his job as a long-haul trucker to get as deep as he could into his sexual desires, which had grown increasingly darker over the years. He's talking about hard times. That's what he's talking about. His wiener is on some hard times. Like, just the hardest of times, daddy. And, like, just... I can't keep it up. It's not the same, Dusty Rhoades. You got that, right? It's a completely different... Like, it's not even spelled the same. All right? So, it was not the wrestler. I wanted to just like keep throwing in, clips of that Dusty Rhoades promo in there, but God, I'm not committed enough to do all of that post production. So you got the long promo. It's a play on the words. Anyway, it's not the wrestler, but he used the same name, and he probably would have known about Dusty Rhoades because that audio clip was kind of from around that time. But whatever. He customized the sleeper cab of his truck and basically into a mobile sex dungeon that was fully stocked with dildos, hooks, whips, chains, restraints, gags, surgical tools, and a bunch of other things that probably weren't initially created to be used for sex, but boy howdy did he find a way. In 1983, after divorcing his first wife and then marrying and divorcing a second wife, 37-year-old Rhoades met 26-year-old Deborah Davis at a Houston nightclub. In fact, Rhoades made several visits to this club to see Deborah, and each time he wore a different outlandish costume, because why not? Deborah, however, I don't know why he was wearing these costumes, but I mean, he was just going in as one of the village people every night every time he was in town. I don't know why. I guess that was part of it for him. But Deborah, this stripper, she was pretty low maintenance. She had come from a miserable childhood. She had 3 kids, and she had already attempted suicide at least once. So having a man come in wearing just a rotation of ridiculous Halloween costumes and showering her with gifts and attention was probably the best thing that had ever happened to her. Rhoades eventually, after he got his divorces, moved down to Houston to live with Deborah, who quickly learned that Rhoades was what you would call a dom in the BDSM world, right? And so BDSM, if you're uninformed, if you're pure in mind, stands for bondage, domination, sadomasochism, I think, or maybe it's just bondage and sadomasochism. I don't know. I'm not going to Google it because I don't need that much leather and latex in my internet search history. But basically you have 2 sides, right? You got your doms and you got your subs, right? The doms, they're the ones that were in charge and just doing everything, coming for that world title, daddy. And then the subs, they're submissive. They're like, yeah, daddy, do whatever you want to me, daddy, whatever, and just, that's the relationship. And the subs, you just stick whatever you want in their butts and they're cool with it. They enjoy it actually, which is weird. I don't get it, but whatever. Like that's how some people are wired. And so Rhoades, he's the other one. He's the dom. He wants to do all of the sticking in the butts, right? And Deborah, she learns this and, wasn't like super interested in it, especially because, Rhoades was like really controlling. Like he took this even outside of the bedroom. Like he was super controlling and very demanding. He dictated everything about her life, from the clothes that she wore to how much makeup she put on. He spent months really just slowly trying to get Deborah to go along with his kinks. And I get it, right? Like a stripper at a strip club, you'd think they'd be into everything, but she was not really interested. On one occasion, and what's crazy is like she still let him do stuff, just not with her. On one occasion, Deborah watched as Rhoades had sex with an unconscious woman who was actually the wife of one of his friends right in front of her. And like she wasn't actually, like, she wasn't like totally appalled as she should have been, but she like wasn't really into it either. She was just like, wow, what is my life right now? Like, oh man, I thought my childhood was bad. Now I'm a single mom of 3 working at a strip club, and my boyfriend's just banging his friend's unconscious wife right in front of me. Like, I should be mad. He's like technically cheating, but I really like this purse that he got me, and he's probably going to buy me some other good jewelry later. So, I mean, at least he's not beating me, whatever. Anyway, on another occasion, Deborah agreed to be Rhoades' collared sex slave for a Halloween costume party, but after that night, Deborah refused to keep participating in whatever Rhoades was into. As time went on, Deborah realized that Rhoades wasn't just into kinky sex. He actually really, really enjoyed seeing people suffer. When she was diagnosed with lupus and sent to the hospital, Rhoades actually stayed by her side, just watching her lie in bed and just writhe in pain. Like, he wasn't there because he was being like a really nice, supportive boyfriend. He was like really enjoying seeing her suffer. Like, I was just doing it for him. At one point, he actually tried to have sex with her in the hospital room because he got so turned on by seeing her suffering from lupus. Oh, God. And yet, despite all of those gigantic red flags, they got married on Valentine's Day, 1987. Unsurprisingly, nothing changed. In fact, it got worse. So, after Rhoades actually raped Deborah in 1989, she packed her bags and left. In January of 1990, just after that divorce with Deborah was finalized, Rhoades picked up Candace Walsh, 25-year-old Candace Walsh, and her husband, 27-year-old Douglas Ziskowski, as they hitchhiked through Texas on their way to a religious workshop in Georgia. Rhoades, who really wanted to rape and torture Candace Walsh, as he had already been doing to numerous women over the last decade or so, decided to shoot and kill Ziskowski before dragging Walsh into his cab/torture chamber and raping her for a full week with God knows what. Once he was done, he then killed her and dumped her body in Millard County, Utah. Because again, like, he's a long haul truck driver. He's gone from, wherever his home base is for days, maybe even weeks at a time. He's just driving all over the country, hauling whatever. And so, like, yeah, you can pick up someone in one spot and then go and dump their body somewhere else. The next month, one of Rhoades' rape victims went to police to tell them how she had been constantly raped over the previous 6 days. Police even pulled Rhoades over after she had given them a description of him and his truck, but upon seeing him again, she panicked and denied that Rhoades was actually the guy. And I get it, right? Like, if you saw the cover art for today's episode, you'd probably freak out too. If that guy raped you and then you came back face to face with him again. It's kind of weird, just a weird face, right? Like, why is his eye like that? Why is he just always like giving you the stink eye? Just like, like it's like that, like, honestly, like the Dusty Rhoades, the actual Dusty Rhoades versus this one that we're talking about, not that far off. Like, you could just probably see him being like, come on, daddy, let me stick my bionic elbow way up your bum. Just like, oh God. Anyway, so like, the story should have ended there, right? Like, this woman, she goes to police actually find him, and then the charges get dropped because she just can't mentally like say like, yeah, he did it, but whatever. So this allowed Rhoades to continue working with his rolling sex dungeon. And best of all, and by best of all, I definitely mean worst of all, he didn't even wait for things to settle down. Literally a few hours after police had pulled him over and then subsequently let him go, Rhoades found 14-year-old Regina K. Walters and 18-year-old Ricky Lee Jones hitchhiking near Pasadena, Texas. After killing Ricky Jones, Rhoades did his usual raping and torturing before calling Regina's father and letting him know that he knew where Regina was before hanging up. And that's weird because her father probably didn't know that she was missing yet. It was the only clue that police got for several months until a farmer in Bond County, Illinois, stumbled upon her body, which had been strangled to death after Rhoades wound a wire around her neck 16 times, nearly decapitating her. Finally, on April 1st, 1990, Officer Mike Miller of the Arizona Highway Patrol came across a truck on the side of Interstate 10 with its hazards on. Figuring the driver was having issues, Miller went over to check. So he knocks on the door. Hey, buddy, everything okay? Rhoades immediately jumped out of the cab with his hands up, allowing the cries and screams from a female voice to drift from the back of the cab. Miller immediately called for backup, and within minutes, Rhoades was in custody. And again, like, I don't understand why, like, you would just do that on the side of the road. Like, do it at a truck stop, or like, I don't know, go kind of off on a back highway or something. Like, I don't know, just kind of dumb to do it on the side of the interstate. Unfortunately, and here's what's crazy. Because Rhoades tended to prey on women with rough lives and mental illness at truck stops and, you know, lot lizards and stuff like that, detectives did not feel confident that this story would hold up in court, which is crazy. It's just like, Your Honor, the defendant here, Dusty Rhoades, he spends his days as a long-haul truck driver, and he is stopping at truck stops. He has customized the back of his sleeper cab into a full-on sex dungeon. All right, there's all kinds of whips and chains and stuff in your butthole back there. And then he's also fighting Ric Flair for the World Heavyweight Championship this Saturday night in Milwaukee. But in between that, though, he has raped and killed multiple women. And I think we need to give him the death penalty. And judge is like, yeah, there's no way that's real. There's no way that the American dream is also this, you know, serial rapist and murderer. And he's not. It's, again, like I said, it's a different dude. But even half of that, like, even if you take the wrestling nonsense out of it, it just, like, there's no way. It does seem unbelievable, at least, you know, back then in the 90s. I don't know, maybe in the 70s, 80s seems unreasonable, but the 90s seems like, yeah, that seems like something that would totally happen. But they didn't think that would hold up in court. So Rhoades instead accepted a plea deal in which he pled guilty to assault in exchange for a 6-year prison sentence with eligibility for parole after 1 year. However, unbeknownst to Rhoades at this point, the Illinois State Police had already put in a request to the FBI for help solving Regina Walters' murder, who in turn had already, you know, the Illinois State Police had already heard about Rhoades' arrest in Arizona. And again, they're just kind of like, it's one of those things we talked about with Samuel Little earlier this month, where it's like they arrest this guy and it's like, oh, that's an interesting pattern, right? Because Regina Walters disappeared from Texas. Body ended up in Illinois. This guy, long haul truck driver, super creepy. Let's just, you know, let's throw this wet noodle at the wall and see if it sticks. So although Rhoades, while he's in jail waiting trial, he calls Deborah, his third ex-wife, and asks her to throw out all of his sex toys and belongings from his apartment. But she did not get there before police, who had already arrived and searched the house, finding bloody towels, extremely violent pornography, quote unquote, a giant dildo. That's their language, right? A giant dildo. I don't know how big it was. I'm curious, to be honest, because, like, what are we talking about? Like a black guy, a horse, or like some monstrosity fan, you know, whatever. Like, I don't know. Why do I care? They also found photographs of Regina nude and chained inside his truck cab by okay. All right, here we go. All right. This is like the craziest part of the story. And I stumbled upon it. I should have warned you earlier, but I'm going to warn you now. They found photographs of Regina. Remember, Regina's 14. All right. They found pictures of Regina naked and chained up inside his truck cab. And she was being held up and chained by a piercing on her front butt, basically, you know, just dangling from a meat hook on her front butt. And just, oh man, like, whoa. That is why of all the things that you could do, why that, you know? Deborah after learning about all of this and learning that these things were in the house that she used to live in, she tried to kill herself for a second time, but failed again. Well, too bad. To her credit, though, she did go on to speak about spousal abuse and counseled victims of physical and sexual abuse, after all of this blew over. So good on her for making something positive out of it. Finally, in 1994, Rhoades was found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He was given 2 more life sentences for the murders of Walsh and Ziskowski. Authorities do suspect him of torturing, raping, and killing more than 50 women over a 15-year period all across the United States. It is interesting. Like, I wonder how many of these women, did maybe Samuel Little kill versus Robert Ben Rhoades, and then, vice versa, right? Like, how many people did maybe Samuel Little get suspected of killing that it was actually Robert Ben Rhoades? Because, it's the similar stuff, right? They had similar victims, but who knows? As of this publication, which, he's 79, going on 80. He is still in prison, serving his life sentence without parole at the maximum security Menard Correctional Center in Chester, Illinois.
All done.
All right, Robert Ben Rhoades and Serial Killer September in the books. Do I dare see what we learned today? Of course we do. Why wouldn't we?
What did we learn?
Well, sometimes you skip it, and maybe this was one of the... No, it's not. Number 1, Robert Ben Rhoades was part of the wrestling team, the football team, the French club, and the Glee club. Of course he turned out the way he did. That's the least surprising part of this episode. Number 2, got super involved in the BDSM community, started going by Dusty Rhodes, was not the American dream Dusty Rhodes, daddy. Did not fight Ric Flair for the World Heavyweight Championship, daddy. But whatever. It's fun that I hope that he was still a fan. I hope that he chose the name Dusty Rhodes because he was a fan of the actual Dusty Rhodes. That would just be funny to me. Anyway, number 3, just potentially killed, raped, tortured more than 50 women. Only got officially convicted of 3 or 4 murders, but that's enough. All right, that's enough. And would have been operating around the same time in a lot of the same places as Samuel Little. So it's possible that the women that he killed, maybe it was actually Samuel Little that killed him, and maybe even vice versa. Who knows? But, just a terrible, stink-eyed human being.
What did we learn?
Next week on the show, we are into October, so it is our Halloween-themed episodes all month long. We're going to have stories about ghosts. We're also going to look at the story of Ernie Rivers and the Project Poltergeist. I'm also going to cover The Watcher, which was a really terrible Netflix series, but based on a true story. And I'll tell you the actual story because the Netflix series butchered it. But next week, specifically, we're going to start our spooky-themed episodes with some stories about witches. The second time we've done that. First one we did all the way back in episode 29, back when we first did our spooky-themed episodes. And we're going to be looking at the stories of Matthew Hopkins, Martha Carrier, Rebecca Nurse, and then witch trials in Vardu, Norway. Norway, I think is where it is. I don't know. And Bamberg, Germany. So all kinds of witches, or at least people who thought that witches were real. You get it. If you listened to this last year, I don't believe in any of this, but people thought that witches were real. So we'll see. Thank you so much for continuing to listen. Keep telling all your friends and keep it weird.
This is a podcast.